Legends say a powerful demon once seduced humanity, only to be sealed away by a brave hero. Meet Danking, our precious nugget who can see the creepy things hiding in the shadows. To everyone else, it's just a tree, but she knows she's being watched by actual demons. Life is hard enough, but now her teacher is sending the class on a deadly scavenger hunt. The goal, find a rare 7-leaf ginseng in the most haunted forest imaginable. Our girl hits the books to prep for the mission of a lifetime. She ventures into the deep woods, hoping she doesn't end up as a demon snack. Suddenly, she realizes she's all alone and the vibes are officially rancid. Something icy and blue is stalking her through the mist. She panics, running for her life until she takes a massive spill. When she opens her eyes, she's surrounded by beautiful cherry blossoms and a mysterious woman. This place is gorgeous, but Danking has no clue how she got here. A petal falls, and she feels like someone is staring right into her soul. Ouch, a random shoe falls from the sky and clobbers her on the head. A voice calls out, asking for help with the lost footwear. Our heroine freezes because this isn't just a lady, it's a high-level demon. She tries to play it cool and pretend she's totally blind to the supernatural. But the demon lady isn't fooled and grabs her before she can bolt. The lady is actually offended that Danking thinks she's a monster. Turns out this demon is actually a total sweetheart. She literally hands over the rare plant Danking needs to pass her exam. Thanks to her new bestie, Danking absolutely slays the test and takes first place. She heads back to the forest to say thanks, but the magical tree has vanished. Instead, she finds a savage fox demon who starts roasting her weak spiritual power. He offers her a mysterious drink if she wants to see the lady again. Getting told off by a fox is a new level of chaotic for our girl. But she's no coward, she gulps down the mystery juice without a second thought. The forest is thick with a heavy, mystical silence as our girl finds herself cornered. The fox spirit looks down with a smug, knowing grin, clearly enjoying her confusion. Our poor heroine takes a sip of the mysterious liquor, unaware of the chaos it's about to cause. Suddenly, a flurry of petals fills the air as a powerful new presence makes a grand entrance. Our girl looks up in shock as the newcomer's gaze turns absolutely sharp and savage. The fox spirit doesn't seem bothered, casually greeting his old friend while asking if she really gave the girl demon liquor. The atmosphere turns icy as the two spirits face off, with the fox spirit claiming he's just doing a good deed. He brushes off her temper with a smirk, insisting he's only trying to help. The pink-haired woman turns her back on him, demanding to know why our girl ignored her warning to stay out of the forest. She reminds the little one that fragile imps are nothing but monster food in a place like this. Trembling, our girl admits she only came back because she wanted to say thank you. She worries she's making trouble, but the spirit's cold exterior starts to show a tiny crack. The spirit explains that the demon liquor has trapped her here, but she quickly finds a solution nearby. She reaches into the bushes and pulls out a bright red berry. Without a second thought, she shoves it into our girl's mouth to dissolve the liquor's effects. It's incredibly sour, and the spirit tells her to hurry up and go home before her luck runs out. Our girl tries to ask if she can visit again, but she's met with a firm no and told to leave immediately. She waves a cheerful goodbye anyway, promising to find her friend again soon. As she rushes through the woods, the spirit watches her go with a silent, lingering gaze. But our girl has bigger problems when she accidentally slams right into Senior Gyudai. He's immediately suspicious, asking why she's acting so incredibly sneaky. He pushes her for answers, demanding to know why she's coming out of the forbidden ghost forest. He leans in close, sniffing the air as he catches a distinct, sweet scent. They climb the long stone steps, but the silence between them is heavy with tension. Gyudai notices she's acting weirdly nervous and tries to lecture her on being careful. He warns her about the dangers of the forest, but our girl can barely focus. Suddenly, her head begins to throb and the world starts spinning out of control. Gyudai catches her just as she collapses, her face flushed with a sudden fever. She's tucked into bed back at the clinic, but the peace doesn't last long. A panicked mother bursts in, begging for help for her child who's been bitten by a snake. The doctor moves quickly, preparing to examine the poor little girl. The situation is dire. The child is heavily poisoned and her breathing is becoming shallow. But just as the doctor prepares to act, a student interrupts with a look of total shock. Meanwhile, our girl wakes up feeling strange, only to see her own hands turning translucent. Her friends are relieved she's awake, but they have some baffling news to share. They reveal that the ginseng she supposedly picked has transformed into something else entirely. Our girl is stunned, unable to believe what she's hearing. She sprints through the clinic, desperate to find her master and see the truth for herself. She bursts into his room, her heart racing as she faces the man in charge. Her master looks at her with a stern, heavy expression, holding the evidence. He demands to know where she actually picked this peach blossom branch, leaving our girl completely speechless and cornered. The peach blossom demon asks our heroine if this isolation is truly what she wanted. Our poor girl Zio Lan is left spiraling, wondering if she's been tricked by a demon's cruel game. She wanders through the halls as the sky turns dark, but the world around her feels colder than ever. She tries to call out to her friends, but it's like she's shouting into a void. Her heart sinks when her hand passes right through her friend's shoulder like she's nothing but a ghost. Zio Lan stares at her own hands in horror as she realizes her body is becoming transparent again. The realization hits her like a truck and she breaks down in tears, screaming why into the empty. She starts running, her breath coming in ragged gasps as she searches for anyone who can see her. She screams for anyone to hear her voice, but the people just walk right through her. The crushing weight of loneliness settles in as she realizes she's completely invisible to the world. She reaches out for Senior Gaodai, but her fingers slide off him like water, leaving her utterly abandoned. The fear of being forgotten forever by everyone she loves starts to consume her soul. She watches her own existence begin to fade away into stardust. Fury replaces the fear as she realizes this nightmare is all because of that demon's gift. Savage and heartbroken, she brandishes her anger, labeling the beautiful demon a total liar. She knows now that demons can never be trusted, no matter how pretty their faces are. With nowhere else to go, she sprints back to the ancient peach blossom tree. She won't let this go without a fight. Zio Lan screams for the demon to show her face and face the consequences of her lies. The peach blossom demon finally manifests, acting like our girl is just being a nuisance in the middle of the night. She coolly asks why Zio Lan even bothered coming back to her tree. Zio Lan doesn't hold back, calling her a horrible demon right to her face. The demon is totally unbothered, complaining that Zio Lan is being incredibly rude for someone so small. But our girl is on fire, demanding to know why she was lied to about the cure. The demon just chuckles, enjoying the spicy attitude. She admits without a hint of shame that the 7-leaf ginseng was a complete fake. She mockingly asks if Zio Lan actually thought a demon would just hand over exactly what she wanted. Zio Lan snaps back, saying the demon can lie to her all she wants, but endangering a patient is where she draws the line. Seeing the tears streaming down the healer's face, the demon's smug expression finally softens. She pulls Zio Lan close, asking what exactly happened to make her this upset. After hearing the whole story, the demon realizes things are much more complicated than they seem. The demon decides it's time to hunt down the damned fox responsible for this mess. She's genuinely surprised that Zio Lan is more worried about her patient than her own disappearing body. Our girl stands her ground, declaring that as a healer, her duty comes before her own safety. The demon agrees to help one last time, but warns her that her current body can't handle the trip. She tells Zio Lan to keep her eyes strictly on her and not to wander. They begin their journey into the unknown. Zio Lan is confused, wondering what could be so dangerous about a little stroll. But she quickly realizes they've stepped right into the heart of the demon world. Suddenly, a massive snake lunges from the shadows with a lethal hiss. Before it can strike, the demon unleashes a burst of magical petals, obliterating the threat. She looks absolutely savage, her eyes glowing with a power that demands respect. But the forest isn't done with them, as an even bigger white serpent emerges from the canopy. Zio Lan lets out a blood-curdling scream as the massive beast towers over them. The demon just smirks, finally getting a chance to show off her true strength. The giant snake hisses, ready to turn our duo into its next meal. With a flick of her wrist, the demon sends a whirlwind of petals that shreds the beast to pieces. She scoffs, noting that these low-level monsters really overestimated their chances. Then she turns her attention to the shadows, telling the damned fox to stop hiding. A gorgeous, silver-haired fox demon finally reveals himself, looking way too handsome for his own good. But the fox just smirks, acting like he's got all the time in the world. As the stars begin to shimmer above the forest, he reaches out and inspects our heroine like she's a rare specimen. He reveals that the demonic potion she drank was actually quite standard, making it a total mystery why the antidote failed. Our poor girl looks completely lost as he tests his magic on her. To everyone's shock, even his high-level spells bounce right off. He realizes the magic isn't the problem, the issue is rooted deep within her own body. Our girl trembles, realizing she might be more broken than she thought. She can't believe her own physical form is rejecting the help. The pink-haired beauty isn't having any of this drama and demands a real solution immediately. They stand in the quiet woods, but the fox casually admits he's fresh out of ideas. However, he mentions a legendary panacea that might just do the trick. Deep in the thicket, a tiny creature watches them as they discuss their next move. He points toward the river's source, claiming the medicine is waiting there. The savage lady warns him that if he's lying, she's personally burning his fox den to the ground. She looks back with a cold gaze, ready to move out. Our heroine feels a wave of guilt and looks up at her companion. She softly apologizes for being so mean earlier when she panicked. She worries she might have actually offended the powerful woman. But instead of a lecture, she gets a gentle pat on the head. Our girl is stunned by the sudden warmth and kindness. She realizes that maybe this fierce woman isn't so bad after all. They continue their trek through the woods, hand in hand. After a long, exhausting climb up the riverbank, the woman points out their target. Perched on a rocky ledge is a glowing red flower. Our girl's eyes light up, thinking they've finally found the miracle cure. But before she can grab it, she's told to wait. Suddenly, a massive green eye snaps open right next to the flower. Our heroine falls back in total chaos, screaming as the ground starts to move. That's no ordinary rock, it's the face of a massive beast. The lady calmly explains that they've stumbled upon a bowie. The creature is absolutely humongous with eyes even on its back. It's a legendary, timid beast that usually hides from the world. Our girl cowers in fear, but the woman tells her there's nothing to be afraid of. They stand before the mountain-sized animal, which looks more confused than hungry. The lady even starts to giggle at the ridiculous situation. The beast just huffs, clearly annoyed at being woken up from its nap. She explains that the creature is so incredibly shy that it probably got scared when our girl shouted. It's been sitting still for so many years that it's literally fused into the earth. The poor thing is trembling with anxiety, unable to even run away. Our heroine realizes the giant monster is actually the one who's terrified. The woman suggests they just snatch the berries and leave the beast to its misery. But our girl can't believe her ears, she wants to save it. She drops to her knees and starts digging frantically, trying to free the trapped animal. She's putting her whole heart into saving this gentle giant. The lady watches, wondering why she's being so nosy. Our girl insists she can't just leave someone or something suffering like this. She looks up with determined eyes, refusing to abandon the beast. Sighing at how troublesome our heroine is, the lady finally decides to help. She summons a whirlwind of magical petals that fills the air. With a powerful swoosh of magic, she targets the creature. The beast begins to glow as the earthy bonds are finally shattered. Our girl watches in awe, swooning at the sheer beauty of the transformation. A blinding light erupts, signaling a massive change. In the beast's place stands a small, mysterious child with horns. Our girl stares in shock, wondering who on earth this mysterious child could be. He's got the ears and tails of a little beast, making him look more like a forest spirit than a boy. Turns out he's actually super grateful, stuttering out a thank you for the rescue. The elegant elf woman isn't missing a beat, asking him straight up if he was that massive monster from just a moment ago. Blushing like a total cinnamon roll, he admits he's the one. Danking can't believe such a terrifying beast could turn into such a cute little squish. He's actually here to help, offering up some berries to show his thanks. Our savage elf queen isn't impressed by snacks, she wants the real goods. She shoots him a look that says she knows exactly what he is, calling him a cute little demon. The boy is so moved, he offers to help them with anything else they might need in the future. The elf lady just smiles, telling him to consider it a debt that she'll definitely be collecting on later. Suddenly, the quiet night is ruined by the sounds of the search party calling out for Danking. Her fellow apprentices are scouring the woods, wondering where their star doctor disappeared to. Danking realizes she's in hot water if she gets caught out here. The little demon boy is shook, realizing for the first time that his new friend is actually a human. Danking hides her presence, while the boy senses a strange, dark energy radiating from her body. But she doesn't have time for a status check. She has to find the legendary herb to save a life. When the elf woman asks about the 7-leaf ginseng, the boy reveals he heard a rumor about a magical herb growing on the highest cliff. Danking practically begs for the location, her desperation reaching its peak. The elf woman tells her not to worry, as long as she's around, there's nothing to fear. Under the glow of the moon, they arrive at the base of a massive, jagged peak. Looking up at the summit, they spot the prize glowing right at the edge. Danking's eyes light up, knowing that if she gets that herb, she can finally save her patient. But the elf woman's senses are tingling. She smells something foul in the air. Before she can give a warning, our impulsive girl sprints toward the danger. She's moving fast, driven by pure determination. She offers to go herself, but Danking insists she has to do this on her own to become a real doctor. The elf woman just smirks, noting that our girl's stubborn streak hasn't changed at all. Danking begins the treacherous climb, looking like a tiny speck against the massive cliffside. She reaches the top, hanging on by her fingernails as she stretches out a hand. Just a little bit further and she'll have it. With a triumphant grin, she finally snatches the rare herb. But the victory is short-lived as a thick black miasma begins to swirl around her. Her head begins to throb with an agonizing pain as the dark energy consumes the cliff. Her grip fails and she's sent plummeting into the dark abyss below. She's falling through the air, completely helpless, screaming that she doesn't want to die yet. A mysterious mark suddenly begins to glow on her forehead. Down in the depths, surrounded by the bones of those who failed before her, a massive eye snaps open within the smoke. But just before she hits the ground, her fall is stopped by a strange, magical force. She sees a fleeting vision of the peach blossom demon from her past. Realizing the evil energy is too strong, the elf woman demands the little demon boy's help immediately. He doesn't hesitate, jumping into action as a gust of wind sweeps through. A massive golden beast appears out of nowhere, catching Danking in its soft fur. The elf woman watches as the danger subsides. She steps in to take the unconscious girl into her arms. Danking is safe for now, though she's completely out cold. The elf woman gives the little monster a rare bit of praise before taking over. Like a streak of light through the trees, she carries Danking back toward the others. The apprentices finally stumble upon her, shocked to find her lying in the middle of the path. They notice she's still clutching the herb tightly in her hand. Later, back in the safety of the valley, a mysterious figure notes the lingering scent of peach blossoms in the air. The peaceful mountain air is suddenly shattered by screams of demon, as a crowd gathers for a grim execution. Our poor heroine is bound in heavy chains and sealing talismans, treated like a common monster while the crowd calls for no mercy. But her disciple, Zaimo, refuses to stand by, desperately begging his master to show her mercy. He insists she isn't evil despite her nature, but Shifu isn't hearing any of it, claiming the boy has been enchanted by her charms. Zaimo breaks down in tears as Shifu prepares a lethal strike, pulling out a handful of high-level magical talismans. With a shout of "Die, fiend!" the master unleashes a blinding surge of elemental power. Yaeyao can only look on in despair, completely immobilized by the chains as her fate is sealed. The air fills with agonizing screams as the magic tears through the area, leaving nothing but destruction. Zaimo reaches out one last time, his heart breaking as he loses his grip on the woman he cares for. Shifu doesn't hold back, determined to end the demon's life right here and now. But in a savage twist of fate, Zaimo throws himself into the line of fire to protect her, taking the full force of the blow. Yaeyao can only watch in horror as her protector smiles through the pain, telling her not to be afraid. He promised to always stay by her side, and he kept that promise until his very last breath. As his lifeless body hits the ground, the blood staining his robes, Yaeyao's world completely collapses. The shock is too much for our girl, and her eyes go wide as her bottled-up power finally snaps from the grief. A dark, chaotic energy explodes from her body, consuming everything in its path as she lets out a soul-shattering scream. Centuries later, those painful memories still haunt her as she wakes up under the blooming peach blossoms. Wondering how little Danking is doing after his ordeal, she sends out a magical butterfly to check on him. But her peaceful moment is cut short when a man's voice calls her an evil demon, shattering the silence. It seems the past is catching up to her as a cold-eyed cultivator confronts her in the forest. He accuses her of returning to repeat her evil deeds, claiming she should have stayed sealed away forever. Yaeyao is confused, but the man mentions the tragedy from all those years ago, threatening the one thing she cares about now. He uses Danking's safety as leverage, knowing exactly how to hurt our heroine where it counts. Our girl realizes she's trapped. With a barrier around the village and her powers limited, she can't risk the boy getting hurt. She swallows her pride and agrees to his terms, promising to stay away as long as he leaves the boy alone. The man warns her to keep her end of the bargain before walking away, leaving her alone with her thoughts. Meanwhile, back in the village, Danking finally opens his eyes, confused about how he even got back home. His friends rush in, relieved that he's finally awake after his dangerous trip to the ghost forest. He's glad the patient he helped is safe, but his reckless stunt has landed him in solitary confinement with a mountain of medical texts to copy. As night falls, he sits alone at his desk, working away in the quiet moonlight. Suddenly, a glowing pink butterfly flutters into the room, catching his eye and making him pause. He swoons at how pretty it is, wondering where such a magical creature could have come from. He starts to suspect that this Tao Yaeyao might be the one who saved him and brought him back to the safety of the valley. With a soft, grateful smile, he whispers a thank you to the spirit he thinks is watching over him. But a sudden knock at the door startles him, and the butterfly vanishes into thin air instantly. He freezes in confusion, wondering who could possibly be visiting him during his strict punishment. Danking hears a familiar voice and peeks through the door, only to find Senior Gaodai standing there with a smirk. He looks as casual as ever, but our girl is confused since she's supposed to be grounded. He claims he snuck out just to see her, which sounds sweet until he starts acting like a total weirdo. He actually has the audacity to laugh right in her face. He starts rummaging through her personal belongings with a brush hanging out of his mouth. He even asks if she was doing something shameful while out picking herbs. Our heroine is beyond annoyed, but things get real handsy when he suddenly grabs her chin. She immediately shoves him back, sensing that something is seriously wrong with this guy. He tries to play it off with a smug shoulder pat, but Danking notices something poking out of his hair. It's a pair of fox ears, and our girl realizes this isn't her senior at all. She gives him a massive shove, demanding to know who the heck he really is. The fox demon just smirks, looking totally bored that he got caught so quickly. With a swirl of blue energy, he sheds his disguise. The silver fox spirit reveals his true form and mocks her for being so gullible. He pins our poor girl against the wall, but he isn't here for a fight. He claims he actually came to give her a serious warning. He drops a bombshell. The peach blossom demon Tao Yaeyao is in grave danger. He claims that Danking's own Shifu was the one threatening her. Our girl is in total denial, refusing to believe her master could be such a villain. The fox doesn't care if she believes him or not and disappears into thin air. Left all alone, Danking is spiraling with doubt and confusion. She stares at the flickering candle, wondering if her master is hiding a dark side she never knew about. Under the pale moonlight, she realizes she can't just sit around and wait for the truth. Clenching her robes, our heroine decides to take matters into her own hands. She waits until the entire sect is fast asleep before sneaking out of her room. She sprints through the dark woods, her heart pounding against her ribs. She reaches the grove and desperately calls out for Tao Yaeyao. She looks around the empty trees, fearing she might already be too late. Just as she starts to panic, a familiar pink mist begins to swirl around her. Tao Yaeyao appears looking like a total goddess, sitting high up in the peach trees. She's surprised to see our girl out so late and asks what she's doing here. Danking frantically explains that the fox told her Shifu was planning something terrible. The demon just gives a sad, knowing smile, saying it's only natural for a righteous person to hunt her kind. But Danking won't hear it. She's determined to prove that Tao Yaeyao is a good soul. The demon tells her to go home for her own safety, but it's already too late. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps and voices surrounds them in the dark. They've been cornered. Shifugu steps out of the shadows, looking colder than ice. It turns out the sect elders have been plotting this whole time, convinced the demon has bewitched their precious student. They decide that while the demon is weak, they must strike and end her for good. Shifu reveals his ultimate betrayal. He put tracking powder on Danking to lead him straight to the demon's hiding spot. He accuses Tao Yaeyao of breaking her word and deceiving his student. With a final, ruthless command, he orders the grove to burn. Shifu is being a total buzzkill, ordering his disciples to burn down the peach tree with magical flames. But nature has other plans as the ground begins to rumble. Suddenly, the sky splits open with violent streaks of lightning. The massive peach tree looms over the valley as the atmosphere turns deadly. Out of the chaos, the peach blossom demon Tao Yaeyao finally reveals herself. A panicked disciple rushes in, screaming that the entire valley is under siege. Shifu looks up just in time to see a literal nightmare. A giant skeletal demon is tearing through the sky. The protective barrier is being shredded like paper by massive, shadowy claws. Shifu realizes with horror that their combined powers aren't enough to hold back the darkness. He desperately screams for every cultivator in the valley to mobilize immediately. While everyone else is panicking, Tao Yaeyao decides it's time to move. Our girl Danking watches in terror as the world around her descends into a chaotic nightmare. Innocent children are left crying for their mothers as the demons close in. Seeing the slaughter, Danking turns to the only person who can help and begs Tao Yaeyao to save her home. Despite being hunted by these people, Tao Yaeyao looks Danking in the eye and promises she'll never refuse her anything. But she warns her that today she will witness the true, ugly heart of man. Tao Yaeyao raises her hand, summoning a swirl of magical petals. A massive wave of pink energy explodes from her body. The light surges forward, hunting down the demons and shielding the terrified residents. The entire sky is dyed in a beautiful, tragic pink as the demon's power restores the peace. The barrier finally snaps shut and Danking breathes a sigh of relief, thinking they're finally safe. But the cost was too high. Tao Yaeyao looks absolutely drained. Her strength completely gone, the peach blossom demon collapses to the ground. Danking rushes to her side, but the sound of heavy footsteps stops her cold. It's Shifu, and instead of a thank you, he's brought a cold, chained sword. He calls her an evil demon and accuses her of orchestrating the entire attack. Tao Yaeyao just gives a bitter smirk while Danking desperately screams that she's the one who saved them all. Shifu doesn't care. He declares that demons will always be demons and swings for the kill. Danking's world turns to black as she lets out a heart-wrenching scream. Our girl wakes up in her bed, gasping for air and wondering if it was all just a nightmare. She steps out into the sunlight, searching for any sign of the woman who saved her. She asks her fellow disciples if the valley is okay, mentioning Tao Yaeyao's name. But they just brush her off, telling her to hurry to class like nothing ever happened. It hits her then, the world has chosen to forget the demon who bled for them. She remembers the demon's warning about the ugliness of mankind, and the realization tastes like ash. Walking through the halls, she feels a crushing weight in her chest, seeing everyone act so normal. Unable to take it, she bolts toward the outskirts of the valley. She reaches the spot where the majestic peach tree once stood, but the air is silent. All that's left is a charred, dead stump in a clearing of dust. Close up, her eyes fill with a fresh wave of grief. Danking collapses into the dirt, the reality of the loss finally breaking her. She stays there, sobbing over the ruins of her friend's life. Suddenly, two figures emerge from the mist. It's a fox demon and his companion, watching her with cold, judgmental eyes. He sneers, asking if her Shifu sent her to confirm that Tao Yaeyao is actually dead. He mocks the ungratefulness of humans, noting how they destroyed the spirit that saved them. Danking, voice trembling, says she just wants to give her friend a proper burial. The fox demon calls her fake, but he lets her finish the task. A small mound of earth is all that remains of the once mighty peach blossom demon. Back at the academy, Danking is a shell of her former self, sighing as she stares into the distance. A senior disciple, Gaodai, grabs her and delivers the news. He tells her she passed the exam and is being sent to the capital, Chang'an. Danking realizes the only reason she passed was because of the 7-leaf ginseng Tao Yaeyao gave her. She flashes back to the demon's kind smile and the gift that cost her everything. Clutching her chest, our girl can barely hold back her tears. With a final, whispered apology to the wind, she prepares to leave her home behind forever. The sun is shining, but the mood definitely doesn't match the weather. Our girl Danking is feeling absolutely crushed, dreaming of Chang'an but with a heart that feels like lead. As she stares blankly, a stray petal drifts through the window and lands right on her belongings. She picks it up, realizing it's a peach blossom petal. Suddenly, she's hit with a wave of memories of the beautiful Tao Yao. The grief is too much, and our poor heroine breaks down in tears, whispering her friend's name. She decides she can't leave without a proper goodbye. She rushes out toward the hills, her breath hitching as she pushes herself to the limit. Finally, she reaches a quiet, grassy mound under the vast open sky. She stands there for a moment, the weight of her departure finally sinking in. With trembling hands, she unties her favorite blue hair ribbon. She leaves it there on the earth, a final gift for the friend she's leaving behind. Sitting by the grave, she lets out one last sob while the world continues on around her. But she isn't alone for long, as a strange mist begins to swirl behind her. It's the fox demon, looking as majestic and judgmental as ever. He mocks her, asking if her conscience is finally bothering her enough to make her run away. He's being a total savage, but then his expression softens just a tiny bit. He tosses something small and shimmering her way. It's a hairpin, a relic that once belonged to Tao Yao herself. He tells her to keep it so she'll never forget the demon who sacrificed everything for her. Our girl clutches the treasure to her chest, weeping as the fox demon hints that there's a much deeper secret hidden within that flower. Time to move on as the students gather for the big journey to Chang'an. Their master gives them a stern lecture about not bringing shame to the school, but Danking is clearly in her own world. She takes one last look at the gates of the valley, her heart heavy with the memories of those she's lost. Goodbye, Glass Valley. She reaches out to the falling petals one last time as night falls over their campsite. The group settles down to rest, but the road to the capital is far from safe. Suddenly, the rustling in the bushes isn't just the wind. The lead student senses danger and tells everyone to stay alert. Before he can even finish his sentence, an arrow whistles through the air and thuds into the ground. A group of bandits appears on the ridge, looking for an easy score. The students try to play the "we're just poor kids" card, but the bandits aren't buying it. They want those valuable herbs from the valley. The lead student smirks, claiming he has something way more valuable to give them. He reaches into his robes and launches a projectile with perfect aim. Boom, it's a smoke bomb, and the forest is instantly swallowed by thick white clouds. He screams for everyone to run through the side lane. It's total chaos as the students scramble to get away from the coughing bandits. But in the confusion, our girl gets separated and blinded by the smoke. The rest of the group stops to catch their breath in a clearing. They start a quick head count, but the math isn't mathing. The realization hits them like a truck. Danking is gone. Back in the smoke, the lead bandit has his claws on our girl, mocking her for thinking her friends would save her. He loses his patience and draws a blade, ready to end her right there. Danking closes her eyes, bracing for the worst, when suddenly the hairpin begins to glow with a divine light. A sudden gust of wind catches our heroine's attention. Out of the swirling petals, a familiar face begins to materialize. It's Tao Yao, descending like a literal goddess while Danking can't even believe her eyes. Yao just gives her that signature smug look, asking how on earth she got herself into such a pathetic mess. Our girl is still tied up and weeping, but Yao is already over the drama. She tells the masked goons to be good boys and disappear before she loses her temper. With one savage flick of her wrist, the trash is cleared out and Danking is finally free from her bonds. Danking practically tackles her in a sobbing hug, thanking the heavens that her friend is actually alive. Yao just scoffs, reminding her that she's the one and only powerful peach blossom demon. She explains that she's stuck in this adorable child form because it's way easier on her current power levels. Danking is just relieved to have her back, tears of joy streaming down her face. Yao offers a hand, teasing her for being a clumsy mess who can't even get to Chang'an alone. They share a wholesome moment as Danking realizes she's not on this journey by herself anymore. As they trek through the forest, Danking is full of questions about souls and hairpins. Yao explains that while her body was burned, her soul was safely tucked away, despite that damned fox and his lies. But they can't chat all day, they need to move fast. Meanwhile, the guys are starting to realize Danking is missing and potentially in serious danger. He's not wasting a second and heads out to track her down immediately. Back with our duo, Danking is absolutely huffing and puffing from the hike. Luckily, she spots a tea shop just a few hundred yards away. They hurry toward the building, hoping for a decent meal and a place to sit. But things get weird the moment they step inside. The shopkeeper looks at them and asks what both of them want to eat. Wait, she can see Yao. They order some tea and dim sum, though Yao seems way more relaxed than she should be. She whispers a warning to Danking about the dangers of being a young girl alone. The cakes finally arrive and look absolutely delicious. Danking is ready to feast, but Yao starts acting like a cheeky elder, snatching the best pieces for herself. Danking takes a bite, but her expression immediately sours. The food tastes like literal garbage, and when she drops a piece, it transforms into a disgusting root. Yao realizes this isn't a normal shop, it's a trap for the hungry. Suddenly, the customers surround them with murderous intent. These creeps aren't looking for tea, they want fresh flesh and blood. But instead of being scared, Yao just finds the whole thing interesting. She tells Danking to sit back and enjoy the show while she handles these monsters. She unleashes a massive blast of energy that sends the ghouls flying. But the smoke clears to reveal something much bigger and scarier lurking in the shadows. A massive silhouette looms over them, and it looks like the real fight is just beginning. Our girl Yeayao watches as the smoke clears, revealing a beast in its true form. It's a tiger spirit looking for a fight, but he's clearly picked the wrong immortal to mess with. Yeayao is totally savage, mocking him for trying to act tough after only 300 years of training. She doesn't even break a sweat as she casts a protective shield around her precious Danking. Our heroine decides it's time to teach this kitty a lesson and charges forward with lethal grace. The tiger spirit tries to go for a killing blow, leaping through the air like he's actually got a chance. But Yeayao shuts that down real quick, unleashing a whirlwind of peach blossoms that sends him flying. She laughs at his pathetic attempt to call himself a demon, but the tiger plays dirty, tearing out of his human skin to launch a sneak attack right at Danking. The impact sends our poor girl crashing to the dirt. Yeayao's heart drops as she rushes to her side, terrified she's too late. She pulls Danking into her arms, checking every inch for a scratch. The demon cackles, realizing he's found Yeayao's literal Achilles heel. Furious, Yeayao unleashes a blast so powerful the coward has no choice but to vanish into thin air. He's gone for now, but that weird skin-changing trick has Yeayao feeling seriously uneasy. The immediate danger has passed, but the vibes are definitely ruined. Danking doesn't care about the mystery, she just wants to make sure her favorite immortal is still in one piece. To shake off the battle grime, Yeayao suggests a little self-care at the nearby hot springs. They find a secluded spot where the water looks absolutely heavenly. Danking dives right in, letting the warm water melt away the day's trauma. Yeayao joins her, looking like a total dream in the misty moonlight. As they soak, Danking starts getting all sentimental, thinking back to the very first time they crossed paths. In a flashback, we see the moment Danking found her, looking like a literal goddess under the blossoms. Danking clings to her, sobbing about a terrifying nightmare where the world was ending in flames. Yeayao just smiles, promising her that everything is perfectly fine. But the dream takes a dark turn as Danking's spirit is ripped away from the light. The peaceful memory dissolves into a roar of fire and absolute chaos. A scream echoes through the night, shattering the silence of the forest. Back in reality, Danking is still trembling and crying in her sleep while Yeayao watches over her with a heavy heart. The fox guy can't help but smirk, noting how much our little Yeayao has changed in just a few days. She's not having any of his sass, especially since he's the one who nearly ruined everything with that demon liquor stunt. As they sit by the fire while our girl Danking gets some much-needed rest, the fox admits he's actually on a mission to find someone special. But before he can get into the gritty details, the sun peeks through the trees. Our heroine wakes up feeling refreshed, completely unaware of the chaotic guest joining them for breakfast. The second she spots the fox, she nearly jumps out of her skin, demanding to know why this troublemaker is still hanging around. Yeayao has to step in and literally smack some sense into the fox for teasing the poor girl. Danking is understandably suspicious, asking Yeayao to find out what this guy's deal is. The fox claims he's just returning a favor, but his smug face says there's definitely more to the story. Yeayao tells her to just treat him like a joke, transitioning the talk to the creepy tiger demon from yesterday. Apparently, demons using human skin tricks are rare, and there's a dark history behind this forbidden sorcery. Centuries ago, a powerful oath was made to seal this magic away forever. As they travel deeper into the woods, the scenery turns into a beautiful but eerie autumn landscape. Our girl immediately gets a bad vibe from the area, and Yeayao warns her to stay glued to her side. But of course, the universe loves drama, and a mysterious purple mist begins to swallow the path. In the blink of an eye, Danking finds herself completely alone, screaming for her friends as the fog thickens. She panics, running through the hazy woods while her heart hammers against her ribs. Every shadow looks like a threat, and the silence is absolutely deafening. Danking freezes, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and hope. Thinking she's finally found a savior, she rushes toward them, explaining that she's hopelessly lost. But as the stranger turns, something feels incredibly off. Before she can even process it, the figure vanishes into thin air, leaving her more confused than ever. She spins around, catching a glimpse of someone else through the haze. Little does she know this whole lost in the mist situation was actually a prank by that annoying fox. Yeayao is fuming, calling him a total idiot and demanding he go find our girl right now. Instead of looking, the fox reaches into the grass and snatches up two tiny spirits who were eavesdropping. These little cuties are terrified, but the fox has no chill when he demands to see their master. The spirits are more interested in the gossip, asking if the fox and Yeayao are actually a couple, which earns them a prompt shut up. Yeayao realizes Danking is in real danger if they don't get help from the master of this forest. To speed things up, she pulls out the ultimate bribe, sweet, delicious candies. The spirits can't resist the sugary loot and agree to lead the way immediately. They arrive at a stunning pavilion hidden away by the water. The air here is heavy with ancient power as they approach the mysterious structure. The spirits point toward their master, a majestic figure with flowing hair and a presence that demands respect. It's the fox demon and our tiny Yeayao finally facing the one called Kicho. Kijo is lounging in her pavilion, looking completely unbothered by their arrival. She reveals her true form, asking if they're blinded by her radiant beauty. But the fox isn't buying it, smelling the stench of human skin sorcery a mile away. Kijo just laughs, admitting she sacrifices humans just to keep her skin glowing. The fox warns her of divine punishment, but Yaeyao is only focused on saving Danking. Our poor girl is still struggling with her health, but she won't back down. She begs Kijo to release her friend from the illusion. Kijo is disgusted that Yaeyao cares for a mere human, but Yaeyao doesn't give a damn. The Demoness agrees to a game, but she isn't making it easy. With a sinister smirk, she sends a massive wave of energy toward them. They're sucked into a dark vortex, falling into the unknown. They land in a strange, twisted world where nothing is as it seems. Meanwhile, Danking is running through the woods, terrified that everyone has abandoned her. She huffs and puffs, desperate to catch up to the shadows ahead. Suddenly, she stops dead in her tracks when she sees Yaeyao with a mysterious man. Her head starts spinning as forgotten dreams begin to flood her mind. She demands to know who this stranger is as he slowly turns around. Standing under the falling petals, he stares back with an eerie intensity. He drops a bombshell, claiming that he is actually her. Before she can scream, he grabs her arm and tells her she's known the truth all along. He claims to be Yaeyao's true lover, and since he's dead, he wants her to switch places with him. Energy binds her tight, and Danking realizes she's in serious trouble. He tells her to be a good girl and rot in this prison so he can take her place. Danking screams for Yaeyao to save her, her eyes filled with tears. Just then, the real Yaeyao appears, and the imposter tries to play the Miss Me card. Big mistake, Yaeyao blasts him with a massive explosion of power. The fox demon arrives to find Yaeyao standing her ground against the fake. He mocks the idea that this monster could ever be her true lover. Yaeyao knows the truth in her heart, her beloved Zai Mo is long gone. She whips the imposter with a savage strike, showing absolutely zero mercy. She accepts that the past belongs in the past, much to the fox's satisfaction, but then they hear a faint voice crying out for help. A pillar of light erupts from the forest, guiding their way. Yaeyao knows that must be Danking and tells the fox they have to hurry. They fly toward the light, hoping they aren't too late. They dive into the heart of the magical glow. But as the light clears, Yaeyao's face turns pale with horror. There's our poor heroine, tangled in tree roots and looking completely lifeless. Our girl rushes forward, desperate to reach her friend. But a powerful barrier slams her back with a violent bang. The fox confirms it's a high-level barrier, and Yaeyao is absolutely fuming. That annoying fake Zai Mo pops up again, acting like he's the main character of a tragic romance. He tries to charm her into leaving with him, but Yaeyao is officially done with his nonsense. She delivers the ultimate burn, telling him the real Zai Mo is way hotter than this ugly mess, before blasting him in the face. She doesn't hold back, letting her power surge through the fake's defenses. The demon is shook that she'd actually attack his face, but Yaeyao only cares about one thing: give her friend back. Realizing he's completely outclassed, the demon's form starts to melt away into a shadowy nightmare. Yaeyao doesn't give him a second chance and absolutely obliterates the creep into sparkling dust. The fox watches as the last of the demon's essence is wiped from existence. She explains that since he was the core of this whole nightmare, the entire dimension is about to go boom. The giant tree begins to splinter and crack as the magic fails. Danking is left suspended in midair as her wooden cage disintegrates. As she finally opens her eyes, the first thing she sees is Yaeyao charging toward her. Danking tumbles from the heights, reaching out for her savior. Yaeyao catches her in a perfect midair save, and the relief is palpable. Our poor heroine bursts into tears, clinging to Yaeyao like her life depends on it. The fox finds this whole emotional reunion a bit of a drag and decides it's time for an exit. With a flick of his wrist, a whirlwind of magic sweeps them off their feet. They land softly back in reality, safe and sound under the golden autumn leaves. Dazed and confused, Danking looks around, wondering if the nightmare is finally over. Our girl and the group realize that the nightmare they were in was nothing but a dirty trick. The peach blossom demon is absolutely fuming that someone had the audacity to set a trap for them. Even our handsome fox man is baffled, wondering who he managed to piss off this time. But before they can move on, our poor heroine freezes as a chilling sensation washes over her. She hears a miserable, soul-crushing sound echoing through the trees. The rustling gets closer and the vibe turns completely ominous. Everyone is on high alert, sensing a presence that shouldn't be there. Suddenly, a terrifying shadow looms right behind our girl and she lets out a blood-curdling scream. She clings to her friends for dear life, convinced a ghost is about to drag her to the underworld. A pale, weeping spirit emerges from the mist, begging for help. Meanwhile, the culprit behind this mess is watching from her pavilion, calling her subordinates absolute trash for failing to kill the peach blossom demon. This blonde demon is clearly unhinged, her face literally tearing apart as she throws a temper tantrum. She's obsessed with her looks and demands her minions bring her more human skin immediately. But her spa day is interrupted when the group tracks her down to her hideout. Our savage peach blossom demon isn't impressed, calling the villainess's illusions petty and weak. The blonde demon just smirks, telling them to beat it because she's way too busy with her skincare routine. She has zero shame about her body count, claiming the heavens won't do a thing to stop her. She thinks her beauty is the only thing that matters, but the fox man has a surprise for her. He asks if she remembers the soul standing right behind them, and her face drops in pure shock. There he is, the very ghost who was wandering the woods looking directly at her. He asks a haunting question: has she really forgotten the promise they made? The demon is losing it, demanding to know why they brought this spirit to her doorstep. But the ghost won't be ignored, reminding her of a past she tried to bury. We flash back to a time when she was just a lonely demon, crying her eyes out because people mocked her scarred face. That's when a kind-hearted scholar stumbled upon her, asking why such a girl was so sad. He didn't run away in fear. Instead, he showed her the first bit of warmth she'd ever known. She called herself ugly, but he hit her with the ultimate truth. The only real ugliness is what's inside a person's heart. He reached out a hand, treating her like a person rather than a monster. He even invited her back to his humble home for tea and snacks, which is honestly the peak of human foolishness. She kept warning him that she was a demon who could eat him, but he just smiled through it all. He actually called her cute, and for a moment, our villainess felt a flicker of genuine happiness. But the peace didn't last, as other cruel demons began to mock her. They laughed at her face, telling her she was an embarrassment who could never truly seduce a human. The words cut deep, and her insecurity finally snapped. She became obsessed with the idea that she needed to be beautiful for her scholar to truly love her. Driven by madness, she began her horrific spree, skinning humans to craft a perfect mask. She proudly showed off her new look to the scholar, expecting him to be swooning over her beauty. But he was absolutely disgusted, telling her that her murderous vanity was the truest form of ugliness. He kicked her out, and though she promised to stop, her heart was already twisted. Eventually, the scholar passed away from illness, leaving her alone with nothing but a lousy promise and her own boredom. Back in the present, the realization hits her like a freight train. The ghost standing before her is the only man she ever truly cared for, and she's absolutely speechless. Fengyi is in total denial that the man standing before her is actually her long-lost scholar. He desperately asks if she's forgotten him, but she is too far gone in her villain era to listen. Suddenly, the sky begins to roar with a terrifying rumble. Our poor heroine and her friend are absolutely terrified as the atmosphere turns deadly. A divine decree descends from the heavens, condemning the siren for her bloody crimes. A literal god appears in the clouds, ready to drop the hammer with divine lightning. The Fox Lord tells her to repent now or face the consequences, but she's still acting like she did nothing wrong. Just as the tension peaks, the scholar pulls her into a sudden, tight embrace. Feng is completely stunned as he begs her to stop hurting people. The realization finally hits her like a truck. It really is him, and he's been waiting for her all this time. They share a heartbreaking moment as he apologizes for being unable to stay, but time has finally run out. The heavens don't wait for goodbyes, and the lightning strikes with a deafening roar. A massive pillar of light consumes everything in its path. As the smoke clears, the scholar is nowhere to be found. Fengyi trembles in the aftermath, wondering if the nightmare is finally over. In his final fading moments, he tells her he'll love her forever no matter how she looks. And just like that, he vanishes into a thin trail of smoke. Our girl is left completely alone in the silence. The weight of her choices finally breaks her, and she can't stop the tears from falling. She looks absolutely devastated, realizing the high price of her obsession. The Fox Lord explains the cold truth: that ordinary human just sacrificed his entire soul to save her from divine wrath. If she had only repented sooner, he could have been reborn, but now he's gone forever. Fengyi starts spilling her tragic backstory about how even her own mother hated her. She was treated like a monster and shunned by everyone because of her face. But then she met him, the only person who ever showed her warmth. He was kind to her even when other demons mocked her for trying to be with a human. She used sorcery to change her appearance, but he made her promise to never use such dark arts again. Our little heroine is confused, asking why she would ever break a promise to the one person she loved. Fengyi reveals that everything changed when she met a mysterious, beautiful stranger. He was flawless and pure white, and those eyes made her forget everything else. The girls realize with a shock that she's actually talking about the Fox Lord himself. He admits she was likely enchanted by his presence, but the blood on her hands is still her own. Knowing there's no way to fix what she's broken, Fengyi accepts that the scholar's fate is her fault. She suddenly grabs a sharp branch, shocking everyone with her sudden movement. In a final act of penance, she plunges it into her own chest. As her life fades, she looks at the little peace blossom demon with a sad, knowing smile. She realizes too late that humans and demons were never meant to walk the same path. Our girl can't help but feel a pang of pity for the tragic end of such a twisted love story. The Fox Lord sighs and decides it's time to move on, announcing he's coming with them to Chang'an. The girls are shocked by his sudden company, but he's got his own mysterious motives for heading to the capital. King finally sets foot in the legendary city, and the sheer scale of the place has her completely shook. Her eyes are practically sparkling as she takes in the vibrant, bustling atmosphere. Welcome to Chang'an, the heart of the empire where every corner is filled with wonder. The city is absolutely teeming with life, a massive upgrade from her quiet life in the valley. Of course, our favorite fox boy can't help but tease her for being a total bumpkin. But our girl has big dreams, and she's ready to train until she's a top-tier doctor who can stand on her own. Seeing all the elegant ladies in the city has our heroine blushing like a total mess. Yaeyao decides it's time for a complete makeover because a future legendary doctor needs to look the part. They waste no time hitting up the local boutiques to find a brand new style. It's a full-on shopping spree as they pick out the most beautiful fabrics they can find. After a quick change behind the curtain, Dan King emerges looking absolutely precious in her new blue robes. She's a bit shy about the glow-up, but there's no time to waste when there's sightseeing to do. They dive headfirst into the local treats, and Yaeyao is living her best life with a mountain of sweets. Meanwhile, the Foxman is busy enjoying the local wine, much to everyone else's annoyance. Our girl can only watch their chaotic bickering with a very tired expression, but the fun and games end when she remembers her real mission, finding her missing seniors. Just as she's worrying about her empty wallet, a strange, mystical scent catches her attention. It's so familiar yet so bizarre that she can't help but follow it like a moth to a flame. Suddenly, a hand snatches her arm out of nowhere. It's her senior brother, Guda, and he looks incredibly relieved to see her alive and well. He's been searching everywhere and can finally breathe a sigh of relief now that she's safe. Our girl is hit with a wave of guilt for making everyone worry so much. He leads her back to the group's home base so she can finally get some proper rest. The whole squad is there and they immediately start mothering her for being such a foolish girl. After the emotional reunion, the seniors remind her that the vacation is over and training starts tomorrow. They head off to bed, leaving our heroine to dream of what's to come. High above on the rooftops, Yaeyao is still keeping a watchful eye on her favorite human. The Foxman joins her, noting that now that Dan King is back with her own kind, they can finally relax. But Yaeyao isn't convinced. This city is a far cry from the safety of their home valley. She can't shake this heavy, ominous feeling that something dangerous is lurking nearby. Morning arrives, and the city is already wide awake and moving. The clinic is a total madhouse, and our girl realizes she's the only one standing around looking lost. A senior sister quickly puts her to work, checking if she's actually ready to help. She's sent straight to the front desk to help manage the never-ending crowd. Her first task is a high-stakes herb run, and she's warned that a single mistake could be fatal. She starts measuring out the ingredients with surgical precision, determined to get it right. She's working her heart out to prove she belongs here. By midday, she's finally earned a tiny break after a morning of intense labor. But the peace is shattered when a woman bursts in screaming for the best doctor in the city. Her poor daughter is suffering from a mysterious ailment that every other clinic has failed to cure. The staff quickly ushers them in to see what's really going on. The mother explains that the girl suddenly went deaf, yet she claims someone is whispering in her ear. As Dan King looks closer, she spots something terrifying. A glowing blue spirit insect latched onto the girl. Our girl is absolutely horrified, realizing this isn't just a medical case. It's something much more sinister. Dan King spots something weird while her elders are busy. She plays it cool, pretending everything is totally normal and there's absolutely nothing to worry about. Inside, the doctor gives a clean bill of health, but our girl is already being summoned to do some heavy lifting. The day drags on under the clear blue sky. Dan King is stuck on chore duty, sweeping up the courtyard until it's time for dinner. Training is honestly exhausting, but a stray peach blossom suddenly catches her eye. She follows the drifting petal, peeking around the corner to see a very familiar face. It's Yaeyao. Our girl wastes no time tackling her friend into a massive hug. Turns out the squad is staying in the city for a while, which is basically the best news our heroine has heard all day. But just as they're getting cozy, some trashy bullies start causing a scene nearby. These punks are picking on a poor girl just because she can't hear them, laughing like the villains they are. The poor kid looks totally lost, but Dan King isn't about to let this slide. She charges in with her broom, demanding to know why they're picking on someone half their size. The bullies try to act tough, but Dan King isn't playing games today. She summons a bit of divine wrath and sends those cowards running for their lives. The little girl is stunned, but surprisingly, she can actually see Dan King's supernatural friends standing right there. She was just here for a medical checkup, looking for answers to her condition. Yaeyao takes a closer look and realizes there's something creepy lurking in the girl's ear. It's an ear dweller, a nasty little demon hitching a ride. These tiny pests absorb sound, which explains why the poor girl has been living in silence. The Foxman is suspicious, wondering why a forest demon is all the way out here in the city. They can't just pull it out without hurting her soul, so they need a smarter plan. Luckily, the resident fox has a brilliant idea. His secret weapon, a jar of demon wine that's supposed to be irresistible. Dan King is skeptical, but the fox insists no demon can resist his brew. The demons come out for a quick sip, but they aren't leaving their cozy home that easily. They dive right back in, leaving the fox looking like a total amateur. Yaeyao decides to take over with a more gentle approach as night falls. While the girl eats, Dan King can't help but roast the fox for his epic fail. The fox knows something is off, while Dan King worries about the girl's family. She writes a note telling the kid to head home, but the response breaks her heart. Ever since her brother died, the girl's father has completely checked out of her life. She still holds on to hope that her brother will come back one day, unaware of the tragedy. The sweet girl points out her house and asks if she can come back to play soon. Dan King gives her a warm nod, watching as she skips away into the night. It's getting late, and our girl has a curfew of her own to keep. But before she goes, Yaeyao hands her a special peach blossom charm to call for help if anything happens. Our girl heads home with a smile, feeling a little safer. But Yaeyao watches her walk away, whispering a final warning to stay careful. Our girl is absolutely hauling it through the dark, panicking because she's definitely about to break her curfew. She's feeling like a total rebel, but not the cool kind, more like the I'm in so much trouble kind. But as she runs, the hallways start feeling endlessly long and creepy. No matter how fast her legs move, it feels like she's stuck on a treadmill to nowhere. Suddenly, a mysterious chime rings out, cutting through the silence. A sudden gust of wind swirls around her, and the vibe goes from late for bed to supernatural disaster real quick. As more bells toll, her head starts spinning and the world begins to blur. When she finally looks up, she's staring right into the eyes of a total stranger who seems surprised to find a human in his personal space. This silver-haired, fox-eared hottie is looking down at her with a gaze that's way too intense. Before she can even ask for an ID, a wave of intense drowsiness washes over her. The fox man mutters something about her carrying a specific scent and decides he's going to take responsibility for her. And just like that, it's lights out for our heroine as she collapses on the spot. She's back in her bed, wondering if the whole thing was just a really high-definition fever dream. But there's no time for a mental health check because her friend is already screaming that she's late for the first day of class. Dan King tries to play it cool, but she's totally spacing out as they walk. During the lecture, she can't shake the feeling that she's missing a huge piece of the puzzle from last night. She tries to focus on her medical studies and the benefits of ginseng, but it's not sticking. That's when a voice whispers "human girl" right into her soul. She looks around frantically, wondering if she's finally lost her marbles. She glances up at the roof, and yep, there he is, the fox demon from her dream. He gives her a casual little hi, like he didn't just knock her out in a hallway hours ago. The memories come flooding back, and she realizes this guy is very real and very much a demon. She points him out, totally shook that he's just casually stalking her at school. He's actually impressed she can see him, but he's more concerned about why she smells like a stinking fox. She nervously introduces herself as Dan King, but he's still hung up on her scent, wondering if she's been hunting foxes in her spare time. She tells him the fox is actually her friend, which clearly piques his interest. He decides he's done teasing her for the moment, and as someone else approaches, he starts to blend back into the shadows. He offers a cryptic apology for the night before, and vanishes into thin air. Before she can even process the ghosting, a messenger arrives to tell her a young patient is waiting. She heads toward the clinic area and finds a very familiar little face waiting for her. It's the little sister she treated before. The girl is beaming because her big brother is finally back and she wants Dan King to meet him. She grabs Dan King's hand and starts dragging her toward the entrance. They sprint through the grounds, but as they reach the gate, Dan King's blood runs cold. Looming over the stairs isn't a man, but a massive, terrifying entity of pure, dark shadow. A literal nightmare is unfolding as a shadowy creep looms over our poor heroine. Dan King panics and grabs her little sister, desperate to pull her away from the danger. She tries to explain that the thing standing there is not their brother, but a demon in disguise. The sister is completely brainwashed, refusing to believe her brother would ever hurt her. When Dan King tries to drag her back to safety, the kid actually slaps her hand. Sobbing, the little sister claims her brother is the only one who cares about her in this lonely world. She's so desperate for affection that she doesn't care if he's a literal monster. Dan King watches in horror as her sister walks straight into the trap. The shadow demon lets out a savage grin, knowing he's got them right where he wants them. Dark energy swarms around the little girl like a physical weight. It's a total nightmare scenario as the darkness begins to swallow her whole. Dan King screams for her to stop, but it's like her voice is being drowned out. It whispers that it wants their energy, it wants her. The monster is fixated on Dan King now, and the pressure is suffocating. Tendrils of darkness lash out, surrounding our girl in a swirling vortex. She fights back with everything she has, but she's being overwhelmed. In a moment of pure desperation, she cries out for Yaeyao to save her. She's down on her knees, praying for a miracle before the darkness consumes her completely. The energy reaches a breaking point as her plea echoes through the air. Far away, a sudden chill goes down someone's spine. Yayo is mid-snack when she feels a sharp, stabbing pain in her chest. She immediately knows something is wrong. Dan King is in serious trouble. There's no time to waste. She tells the fox guy they have to move now. Even though he's acting like it's a chore, he can't ignore the urgency in her voice. They blast off, racing against time to reach the scene. But they're suddenly cut off by another fox spirit who looks way too smug for his own good. It turns out this newcomer is an old acquaintance of Fei Fei's. Yayo doesn't have time for a reunion, but this guy is blocking their paths. He's acting all hurt that they tracked him down just to yell at him. He starts playing mind games, asking why they're so obsessed with a mere human girl. He even has the audacity to call Dan King a little lover, smirking like he knows a secret. Then he drops the bomb. He knows exactly how much danger the girl is in right now. Yayo loses it, demanding to know what kind of sick game he's playing. She tries to push past him, telling him to stay out of her way. But the rival fox isn't done yet, using a golden bell to trigger a massive wave of magic. He lunges forward, warning her not to look him in the eyes. But it's too late. His eyes flare with a hypnotic blue light that threatens to trap her in a trance. Our girl wakes up in a hazy world of floating bubbles and distant laughter. She hears a voice calling out for a big brother and finds herself completely disoriented. She realizes she's in a body that isn't hers, looking at a life that feels way too perfect to be real. Our poor heroine is totally lost, wondering what on earth is happening to her. Suddenly, a massive feast appears before her and it looks absolutely divine. She starts shoveling down the food like she hasn't eaten in years. Her supposed parents laugh, saying she's forgotten her manners in the face of a good meal. Even this handsome, older brother steps in to wipe the sauce off her face. He asks what else she wants to eat with a smile that's way too sweet. But the vibe shifts instantly because our girl knows for a fact she doesn't have an older brother. She realizes she's actually trapped inside someone else's dream. Overwhelmed by the raw emotion of the girl whose life she's borrowing, our heroine starts bursting into tears. She throws herself into the brother's arms, sobbing that he's finally come back to her. But the magic starts to flicker as a mysterious blue energy surges around her. The tears won't stop as she feels the heartbreaking truth of this vision. She finally meets the real girl behind the dream, who looks just as tragic as the situation. Our girl tries to warn her that this is all just a cruel illusion. But the girl doesn't care. She'd rather live in a beautiful lie if it means having her brother by her side. Our heroine can only look on in pity for this poor soul. Suddenly, the dream turns into a total nightmare as the girl begins to dissolve into thin air. Our heroine watches in horror as her companion starts to fade away into smoke. Dark, chaotic energy begins devouring the girl right before her eyes. Our girl screams for her to wake up, desperate to save her from the darkness. She clings to the girl, refusing to let the shadows take what's left of her. But the dark energy cracks the very fabric of the dream world. A massive, terrifying force looms over them, and our heroine screams out in pure panic. Just when things look hopeless, a mysterious man appears and tells her to move aside. A massive gust of wind sweeps through the area as he makes his move. He stands tall like an absolute boss, shielding our girl from the blast. She stares up at him, completely dazed by his sudden entrance. She begs him to save the girl who was just snatched away by the demon. He points out the ear dwellers, explaining that these creatures feed on people's deepest desires. He warns her that while reason is a comfort, desire is a deadly trap. Our girl isn't having it and demands the monsters release the girl immediately. The brother from the dream looks back with a cold, creepy gaze. He claims he's finally found his sister and has no intention of letting her go. But our girl drops a savage truth bomb. He's nothing but a demon and the real brother is long dead. He's finally realizing the chilling truth. He's actually dead. His eyes widen in pure horror as the weight of his own demise finally sinks. But Zaimo isn't letting this chaos continue, warning him not to make any more mistakes. The poor guy just wanted his little sister to be happy, but his love has turned into a nightmare. Our girl Dan King has had enough of this drama and decides to end it with her bare hands. She literally grabs the demonic energy, shocking everyone with her savage strength. She screams at him to stop running and help his sister face the cruel reality of the world. Finally, he breaks, begging Dan King to save the sister he's been holding onto for far too long. The possession is finally breaking, and he realizes he can't hold the illusion together anymore. With one final burst of power, Dan King tears the dark energy apart. The brother's spirit finally fades into the light, leaving behind a heartbreaking apology. As the illusion begins to crumble, our heroine catches the sleeping girl. They're safe for now, but they realize they are still trapped in this mysterious place. Suddenly, Dan King finds a familiar pouch and the air shifts. A new memory unfolds as a beautiful demon named Yayo weeps over the divide between their worlds. She's lived for centuries, yet she couldn't escape the messy emotions of the mortal world. Dan King and Zaimo watch as this tragic spirit pours her heart out. She looks at Zaimo with tear-filled eyes, asking what they should have done differently. Zaimo stares back, his expression unreadable as the past begins to bleed into the present. We jump back to a happier time, where Yayo was just a demon girl practicing her calligraphy. Zaimo was always there, sneaking up on her and making her heart skip a beat. He teases her for studying human medicine, knowing full well she's doing it all for him. Our demon girl turns 50 shades of red, trying to hide how much she swoons over him. He pulls her close, promising that they can live together forever. She's terrified that the world will hate her, but he promises his magic will keep her secret safe. He swears on his life that he'll protect her until his very last breath. It's a total romance novel moment as they embrace under the blossoms. When she finally takes on her human form, Zaimo is absolutely floored by her beauty. She looks like a literal goddess in her new silks. They walk hand in hand, trusting that their love can conquer anything. Years fly by and Ye Ayao successfully hides her true nature from the world. Finally, the big day arrives, and the entire village is buzzing for the wedding of the century. Zaimo watches with stars in his eyes as his stunning bride approaches. He reaches out to claim his happily ever after. But the universe is savage, and a flaming arrow suddenly streaks through the sky. In an instant, their beautiful celebration is turned into a literal inferno. The guests scream in terror as the dream turns into a nightmare. Ye Ayao lifts her veil, her heart shattering as she realizes their peace has been brutally destroyed. Chaos erupts as the wedding day turns into a literal firestorm. Our poor heroine looks on, realizing her big day is officially cursed and totally ominous. Meanwhile, a sneaky thief thinks he's hit the jackpot by breaking in while everyone is distracted. He finds exactly what he's looking for, but Tao Ye Ayao catches him red-handed before he can vanish. This guy really thinks he's just dealing with a weak girl in a fancy dress. A big mistake, buddy. She's got him by the throat before he can even blink, demanding to know who's behind this chaos. Zaimo rushes in just as the thief realizes he's completely outmatched. The coward throws a distraction and flees like a total loser. Zaimo is instantly by her side, checking every inch to make sure his girl is unharmed. She says she's fine, but the tension in the air is thick enough to cut with a sword. The valley elders are already pointing fingers, calling this wedding a total omen of doom. Zaimo clenches his hand, clearly ready to fight the entire world to protect her. But the rumors are spreading like wildfire, with the locals whispering that demons are the cause of the disaster. Our girl can't even walk through the valley without being treated like a walking catastrophe. Inside the council, the old men are being extra dramatic, officially deciding that Tao Ye Ayao is the rumored demon. They start handing out talismans to every resident to act as a shield. Our poor heroine starts feeling the burn the second she steps outside. Every step she takes sends a jolt of agonizing energy through her body as the ground crackles beneath her. The entire valley has been turned into a giant trap designed to flush her out. Talismans swarm the air, and she realizes the elders have set up a massive formation. Zaimo finds her and tells her they need to run, but she's terrified he'll ruin his life for her. She's literally collapsing from the pain of the spiritual barrier. He catches her in his arms, refusing to let her suffer through this alone. He knows these talismans are poison to her demonic energy and insists they leave the valley immediately. They try to play it cool, telling the neighbors they're just heading out to gather some herbs. They almost make it past the gates, acting like a perfectly normal couple on a stroll. But the elder isn't buying the excuse for a second and orders the guards to hunt them down. They finally reach a quiet spot in the forest to catch their breath and hide. For a second, it's almost sweet as she tries to reassure him that she's okay. But the mood is instantly killed when the elder and his squad show up to ruin the vibe. He screams that Zaimo has shamed the entire valley by marrying a literal demon. Before they can even explain, the elder gives the savage order to capture them both by force. The world is tearing them apart because our girl is a demon and her lover, Zaimo, is a mere human. As he lies there bleeding out, she can't understand why their love has to be a death sentence. The seals burn against her skin as she screams out in pure agony. The entire building rumbles from the sheer force of her grief. Outside, the commoners are losing their minds, screaming for help as the demon's power overflows. This grumpy old cultivator is absolutely livid, cursing our girl as a damnable peach blossom demon. He's shocked to realize she was hiding this much raw demonic energy all along. He demands she stop, but our heroine has already reached her breaking point. She looks down at her dying lover, her heart shattering into a million pieces. Ignoring the insults, she gently lifts Zaimo into her arms. The old man thinks she's trying to flee, and he's right. She's getting her man out of here. With one last savage look at her pursuers, she vanishes into the night sky. The old master orders his men to hunt her down immediately, but they're already too late. She streaks through the forest like a pink bolt of lightning. Finally landing in a secluded clearing, she desperately cradles Zaimo's limp body. She begs him to wake up, her voice trembling with terror. He promised he would always protect her, and now he's leaving her all alone. Seeing the blood staining his robes, her desperation turns into a dark resolve. She sobs over him, refusing to accept this tragic ending. She makes a vow right then and there she will not let him die no matter the cost. Swirling energy begins to gather around them, responding to her chaotic emotions. She cries out one last time, her tears falling onto his pale face. Her eyes glow with a fierce golden light as she prepares the ultimate sacrifice. She's willing to trade 1,000 years of her own cultivation and energy. All of it just to ensure he can be reincarnated into a new life. She guides the glowing orb of her life force into his mouth, sealing his soul's journey. As he fades, she whispers a final, heartbreaking request. Once he's reborn, he must forget her entirely. Moments later, the cultivators finally catch up, their torches flickering through the dark trees. They search every bush, certain the demon and her lover are hiding nearby. One man stops when he hears a strange sound echoing through the woods. It's not a demon's roar, but the high-pitched wail of a newborn. He calls out to his master, completely baffled by the abandoned infant lying in the grass. Years pass in the blink of an eye, and we see a young girl named Ye Ayao looking absolutely devastated. She looks up at the pink-haired woman, the memories of the past still lingering like a shadow. The woman turns away, her expression unreadable as she thinks of Zaimo. She reaches out, gently cupping the girl's face to comfort her. She tells her that everything is in the past now and there's no need to cry. Yeayao throws her arms around her, holding on tight as they face a new, uncertain future together. Yeayao holds Danking close, relieved that our poor heroine is finally snapping out of the trance. Danking looks up, dazed, barely able to believe she's seeing her friend's face again after that nightmare. Suddenly, Yeayao's power surges, her small frame glowing with a divine light that cuts through the darkness. She floats in the air, a miniature powerhouse ready to throw hands with whoever did this. Danking is shocked to see her awaken back in action so soon. Our girl explains that they were trapped in a twisted illusion, and Danking was moments away from being lost forever. But the architect of this mess reveals himself. It's the fox-eared Feifei, and he's looking way too smug. He mocks them for ruining his masterpiece of a trap with a condescending smirk. His eyes turn cold as he prepares to get serious and finish what he started. He launches a barrage of energy, forcing Danking to shout a warning as they narrowly dodge the onslaught. Yeayao is absolutely savage with rage that this jerk dared to use her memories against her. Feifei just sighs, acting like he's doing her a favor by bringing up the past. Yeayao isn't buying his sentimental act for a second and prepares to strike back. The tension is thick enough to cut with a sword as they face off in the swirling mist. Yeayao demands he release his hold on Danking immediately, her expression turning fierce. He just gives a nasty little tusk and starts gathering a sinister blue flame in his hand. He's ready to end this little rebellion right here and now. But wait, a hand suddenly clamps down on his wrist, stopping the attack dead in its tracks. It's another fox spirit, looking incredibly disappointed in his kin's chaotic behavior. The newcomer's gaze is sharp, radiating "I'm not mad, just disappointed" energy. He slaps Feifei's hand away and demands to know why he's back here causing trouble again. He tells Feifei to cut the act and come home before things get even uglier. Feifei throws a tantrum, refusing to leave unless the newcomer joins him. When he doesn't get his way, he decides to go full villain mode and shows no mercy. A massive explosion rocks the area as he unleashes his hidden dark power. Dark, wispy energy starts swirling around Feifei as he begins a forbidden transformation. The newcomer recognizes the restricted technique and begs him to stop before he destroys himself. But Feifei just lets out a chaotic, unhinged laugh that sends shivers down their spines. He screams that the demonic energy is surging through him, fueling his madness. Yeayao and Danking can only watch in horror as the air turns toxic with malice. Feifei pauses, noticing something strange. Danking isn't being affected by his demonic aura at all. He stares at her, his curiosity turning into a predatory obsession. He lunges forward, cornering our heroine with a creepy hee-hee that will definitely haunt her dreams. He calls her a good girl and demands she hand over the special energy hiding inside her. He reaches out, his intentions as dark as the energy surrounding him. He starts forcibly draining the power from her, making our poor girl gasp in pain. Yeayao screams for him to stop this nightmare, but he's too far gone. He just looks back with a sadistic grin, enjoying the struggle. Yeayao glares at him, her eyes burning with the resolve to save her friend no matter the cost. Feifei is really feeling himself, mocking our girl for even trying to put up a fight in her weakened state. He thinks he's totally untouchable, but Yeayao isn't backing down that easily. This psycho starts preaching about the wrath of the heavens like he's some kind of god. Desperate to save her friend, our heroine offers up all her demonic energy just to get Danking to safety. He just sighs, genuinely confused why anyone would care so much about a measly human. Danking is screaming for her life, but the situation is spiraling out of control fast. Even the master steps in to tell Feifei to stop being a total idiot before he ruins everything. But Feifei is drunk on power, dreaming of devouring enough energy to finally surpass his master. He's officially gone off the deep end, vowing to make everyone pay for their supposed betrayal. He takes a step forward, and poor Danking is already feeling the terrifying pressure. She's absolutely terrified, having no clue what kind of twisted ritual this monster is about to perform. As the dark energy surges, Feifei lets out a villainous laugh while Yeayao screams in horror. It's pure chaos, and our girl can only watch as her friend gets caught in the crossfire. But wait, the tables turn instantly as Feifei's smug face turns into one of pure shock. Karma comes knocking early, the energy backfires, leaving him screaming in absolute agony. The backlash is savage, tearing through him as Yeayao realizes the tide has finally turned. He's clutching his head and cursing the world because his master plan just blew up in his face. His power is leaking out like a broken faucet, and he's losing his grip on reality. The master watches the pathetic display as the reality of the situation settles in. Before they know it, the group is warped back to the safety of the temple grounds. Yaoyao immediately rushes to Dan King's side, thanking the heavens that her friend is still breathing. The master explains that using such a forbidden technique was a death wish that totally messed up Feifei's internal energy. Even after everything, our soft-hearted girl wonders if there's any way to save the guy who just tried to kill them. The master stands tall, surrounded by his own powerful aura, contemplating his next move. Despite the betrayal, he admits he can't just leave his former student to rot. He sighs at how much of a headache this whole ordeal has become for everyone involved. Yaoyao tells Dan King to go home and stay safe, because this demon drama is about to get even messier. Deep in the woods, Feifei is slumped over, broken and pathetic after his failed power grab. He's still writhing in pain, cursing his luck while the dark remnants of his power flicker away. Feifei is absolutely losing it, unable to control the demonic energy coursing through him. Suddenly, someone steps into the clearing, catching him at his weakest moment. It's a familiar face, but the vibes are completely off as he looks up in shock. He demands to know what they're doing, but dark shadows are already creeping up behind him. He claims he only awakened these spirits to help him, but these lowly demons clearly have their own hungry agenda. They swarm him instantly, and he realizes way too late that devouring his power is the only thing on their minds. An explosion of dark energy rips through the air as he screams in agony. Through the smoke, he hears a voice calling his name and sees a vision of our girl. He can't believe his eyes as she floats there, looking like a literal angel come to save him. He reaches out trembling, wondering if she's actually returned from the dead. But the sweet smile vanishes, replaced by a blood-red gaze as she demands he hand over every drop of his demonic energy. Our poor guy is frozen in terror as his dream girl turns into a total savage nightmare right before his eyes. We flash back to a time when things were simpler, but no less depressing, as a young Feifei sobs by a lonely cave. His master has ordered him to stay here and repent, making him feel like a total failure in the demon hierarchy. His senior brother tries to play the tough love card, telling him not to hate their master because he just wants him to excel. But Feifei is deep in his feels, convinced he's just a mediocre demon that nobody could ever care about. Left alone to wallow in his misery as his brother departs, the forest grows quiet and cold. He huddles by a small fire, feeling completely abandoned by the world. That's when a cheerful voice breaks the silence, calling out, "Hey, little fox." It's our girl in her younger years, looking as chaotic and adorable as ever. She mocks him for getting punished yet again, calling him stupid while he tries to explain that the demon world is way too complicated for a human. She doesn't care about his rules or his status, though. She just wants them both to live their lives happily. For a moment, he actually feels a spark of hope as they share a smile under the moonlight. But the other foxes in the tribe aren't as kind, constantly gossiping about how he's a useless good-for-nothing who is always being punished. One day, while wandering through the peaceful woods, he spots something horrifying tucked away in the greenery. His heart drops and his eyes go wide as he finds his only human friend lying still in a pool of blood. The sight of her broken, breathless body marks the exact moment his world shattered forever. He flashes back to the days she used to tease him about his fluffy fox ears. Back then, she was just a chaotic girl laughing at her little fox. But now she's cold and fading, apologizing because she can't make him happy anymore. He begs her to wake up, but the blood just keeps pooling around her. Our boy can't accept this tragic ending and breaks down in tears. Desperate to save her, he begins a dark ritual, dripping his own blood into the void. The atmosphere shifts as forbidden energy starts to swirl violently. Suddenly, her form begins to manifest right before his eyes. He's overjoyed, thinking he's finally brought her back from the brink. But something is seriously wrong. Her gaze is empty and terrifyingly cold. Our girl has returned, but she's looking more like a soul-sucking demon than the friend he loved. Before he can even react, she lunges forward and grabs him. She goes straight for the kiss, but she's actually draining the life force right out of him. He's completely stunned by the sudden, savage assault. She's literally hissing as she feeds on his essence like a predator. He has to shove her back just to catch his breath, leaving her looking dazed and confused on the ground. All she can mutter is a desperate, hollow craving for more demonic energy. He realizes his forbidden technique worked, but it's come with a terrifying price. Now our fox boy is forced into a dangerous double life, sneaking through the woods like a thief. He's been out hunting other creatures just to keep her alive. He returns to their hidden cave, clutching a jar filled with the essence of a small demon. He offers it to her, desperately hoping this will bring back the girl he once knew. For a brief second, the fog in her eyes clears and she actually recognizes him. He's so relieved he promises to hunt as many demons as it takes just to see her smile again. He just wants to go back to the happy days they shared in the forest. They share a rare, quiet moment of peace together. But the tranquility is short-lived when the sound of footsteps echoes through the trees and someone discovers their secret hideout. Master's eyes go wide as he catches Fei red-handed in the middle of her chaos. He isn't just disappointed, he's absolutely livid that his student has strayed this far from the path. He demands to know what on earth she's done and how she could be so reckless. Not only is she refusing to listen, but she's also acting like she's completely lost her senses. Using a forbidden technique is the final straw, and Master realizes our girl is spiraling out of control. Before she can explain, he chants a purification spell to turn her dark plans to dust. He forces the entity to return to where it belongs, ignoring Fei's desperate, tearful pleas. He warns her never to try something so absurd again, but the emotional damage is already done. Our poor heroine screams out in pure agony as her world literally crumbles around her. Fast forward to the cold, dark reality of a prison cell where she's left to rot. Senior brother shows up at the bars, but he doesn't exactly have a get-out-of-jail-free card for her. Fei begs him for help, but he's more concerned with the grim consequences of her dark magic. He gives her one last look of pity, telling her to stop being so reckless before he turns his back. Left alone in the silence, she realizes she's truly been abandoned by everyone she trusted. But a sudden explosion rocks the dungeon, leaving her cell completely empty and the bars shattered. She finds herself face to face with the very person she thought was gone forever, and the reunion is beyond creepy. Fei is totally shook. How is she still here after Master supposedly eliminated her? The girl smirks with a predatory glint, revealing she's just been waiting for Fei to feed her more demonic energy. Blinded by her devotion, Fei agrees to hand over the massive power of 100 demons. She wishes she could turn back time, but she's already committed to this dangerous, soul-crushing path. Suddenly, the girl starts coughing and trembling, looking like her vessel is about to break apart. Fei doesn't hesitate for a second, offering up every last drop of her own power to save her. She thinks she's being a hero, while the girl just lets out a chilling, savage laugh in her arms. But Master bursts onto the scene just in time, shouting her name in a desperate attempt to stop the madness. He snatches Fei away from the trap, refusing to let her throw her life away for a lie. He screams at her to finally wake up and look at the monster she's actually protecting. The girl is no longer a friend. She's a hissing, demonic mess that's barely holding a human shape. Fei stares in horror as the savage truth finally starts to sink into her mind. Master watches her closely, his expression grim as he waits to see if she'll finally choose the right side. Our girl is losing it, and honestly, can we blame her? Her fox-eared companion is desperate, willing to sacrifice everything just to bring her back. He's ready to dump every ounce of his demonic energy into her, logic be damned. But his friend tries to talk some sense into him before things get chaotic. The intensity in his eyes says he's not listening to a single word of caution. Suddenly, dark energy erupts, swirling through the air with a violent whoosh. It lashes out, binding him tight as the situation spirals out of control. Out of the smoke, a mysterious little lady appears, looking way too calm for this drama. She asks if this mess is really that hard to handle, and honestly, the sass is real. The fox man can only sigh, realizing the girl he's trying to save is being stubborn. Just then, Qing rushes in, calling out for her friend Yayao. They try to convince the little one to head home where it's safe. But our girl isn't going anywhere, she wants to help no matter the cost. Amidst the silence, a soft, heartbreaking sob echoes through the void. The silver-haired fox man freezes, searching for the source of that painful sound. He finally spots her, looking absolutely shattered. He gently asks why she's crying, but the answer is enough to break anyone's heart. Our poor heroine is trapped, weeping that she can't escape this terrifying place. She's trembling, her spirit completely broken by the darkness. He tries to comfort her, offering his power again, but she immediately shuts him down. With tears in her eyes, she drops the ultimate bombshell. She's already gone, and there's no way for her to return to the world of the living. The dark energy begins to hiss and surge around them once more. He's frantic, but she begs him to just let her go. She doesn't want to be a monster, she'd rather vanish than be a hollow shell of herself. The realization hits him like a freight train. He's been making a terrible mistake. He pulls her into a final, desperate embrace as the shadows swallow them whole. A blinding flash of energy consumes the scene. Left alone in the aftermath, he can only sob, clutching onto the memory of what he lost. All that remains is a final, crushing apology. The dark purple energy is hissing and swirling everywhere, threatening to swallow them both whole. Fei feels his demonic energy being drained away, and for a terrifying second, he actually wonders if he's about to die. Our poor heroine is a sobbing mess, apologizing to her senior brother as if this is their final goodbye. But then a mysterious and beautiful woman appears through the haze, looking like a literal angel of mercy. Suddenly, a voice shouts for them not to give up, and little Qing reaches into the void with everything she's got. Their hands stretch out across the darkness, coming inches away from a miraculous rescue. Qing manages to grab hold and pulls with all her might, dragging them back from the brink of total destruction. With a massive whoosh of wind, they're yanked out of that purple nightmare and back into the real world. They crash onto the grass, panting for air after that chaotic brush with death. Our girl Qing is absolutely beaming, proud that she actually managed to save the day for once. But the relief is short-lived because Fei has completely passed out from the spiritual strain. High above, the senior brother's spirit sighs at the sight of these silly children being so dramatic. Dan King looks up and notices the mysterious spirit woman is starting to float away into the bright sky. She demands to know who this stranger is and if she's the one who truly saved them. The woman just gives a soft, savage smile and thanks her as her form begins to disperse into the air. She's finally free from her long torment, leaving with a look of pure, unadulterated peace. With a final whisper to Fei Fei about meeting again if fate allows, she vanishes into the light. Later, we see Dan King back at her studies, trying to memorize medicinal herbs for her master while the sun shines bright. Her senior sister warns her that she better not fail the upcoming test, or she's in big trouble. Suddenly, flower petals start drifting into the room despite the windows being shut tight. Sensing something magical is happening, our girl bolts outside to see what's going on. She finds Ye Ayao waiting for her in the garden, looking as elegant and calm as ever. They share a sweet moment of relief, but Dan King realizes the grumpy fox is nowhere to be seen. Speak of the devil, and the fox guy appears right behind her, acting like he wasn't just on death's door 5 minutes ago. He scares the absolute daylight out of her, laughing at how cute her panicked reaction is. But wait, look at what's in his arms. It turns out Fei Fei lost so much energy he can't even maintain his human form. Dan King's heart completely melts because the little fluffball is just too adorable for words. Fei Fei tries to be a total tsundere and praise her for being slightly useful, which obviously earns him a massive glare. Ye Ayao explains that the evil has finally left the city and it's time for them to hit the road. She takes Dan King's hands, acknowledging that our girl is probably still confused about all the secrets of the past. She promises to spill all the tea the next time they meet, giving her a gentle, lingering farewell. Our heroine stands alone, watching her friends depart as the wind rustles through the trees. As they walk away into the distance, she knows her life in the city will never be the same again. Dan King is leaving Crystal Valley with a heavy heart, promised a reunion once she becomes a real doctor. Her friends wish her luck as she sets off on her lonely journey to the big city. Time stands still for a moment in the quiet scenery, but our girl is struggling, staring off into the distance while missing her beloved Ye Ayao. She tries to shake off the sadness, literally grabbing her head to focus her chaotic thoughts. She shouts at herself to stop moping and start working hard like she promised. She's determined to train well so she can return to the valley as soon as possible. All she wants is to see Ye Ayao's face again, even if it means studying until the stars come out. She stays up late, looking serious and scholarly, until her eyes finally give out and she face-splints into her books. She jolts awake, realizing a whole year has flashed by in the blink of an eye. Now our girl has grown into a proper young doctor, giving out medical advice like a total pro. But when a bratty kid teases her for not growing an inch taller, she goes into a savage rage. Despite her short temper, her skills are the real deal, and patients are swooning over how she cured their families. She tries to play it cool, but she's definitely feeling herself after all that praise. As night falls, Dan King finally gets some much-needed rest. Deep in her slumber, she drifts away from reality. Suddenly, she finds herself wandering through a mystical, starry dreamscape. Her eyes widen as she spots a familiar figure standing in the distance. She walks toward them, her bare feet stepping through the soft, glowing dust of her subconscious. It's Zaimo. He's finally returned to her dreams after such a long absence. She wonders if he's only appeared because she's been missing Ye Ayao so much lately. He gives her a gentle head pat, acknowledging her hard work and her longing for home. Our heroine can't help but blush at the sudden, tender affection. But the mood shifts instantly as he reveals he's here for a much darker reason. He senses an ill omen, an ominous air that's been lingering for months. It's linked directly to Ye Ayao in the valley, and he warns her that something terrible is about to happen. He looks her in the eye and tells her he has to entrust everything to her now. Before she can ask for more details, the dream shatters into the morning light. She wakes up confused, sitting up as the weight of the nightmare sinks in. She tries to shake it off, but that ill omen feels way too real to be just a dream. The peaceful morning breeze doesn't last long. While she's busy writing her reports, a frantic knocking interrupts her. A gull bursts through the door, screaming that there's an absolute emergency. The sky is clear, but the mood on the ground is anything but peaceful. Our girl Dan King and her senior sister are moving with a purpose, sensing the heavy tension in the air. Dan King is already spiraling, asking her sister what on earth could have happened to cause such a stir. They find a crowd already gathered, and the atmosphere is thick with pure dread. The master spots her and tells her to stand by, his face looking way too serious for comfort. Our poor heroine is practically trembling as she waits for the bombshell to drop. The master doesn't sugarcoat it, reminding everyone of their long year of training in Qing. He reveals that a message just arrived from the valley and things have gone south fast. Dan King's eyes go wide. She can't believe the nightmare he's described. People are dying, and Crystal Valley is in desperate need of a miracle to survive. Without hesitating for even a second, our savage girl raises her hand to volunteer for the front lines. The master is caught off guard by her boldness, but he can see she's dead serious. He gives her a nod of respect, and soon the rest of the disciples are fired up and following her lead. The order is given, pack your bags because we're moving out at dawn. The next morning, the reality of the situation starts to sink in as she prepares to leave. Dan Qing is surprised by a group of younger disciples who have come to see her off with teary eyes. They're heartbroken that their favorite big sister is leaving Chang'an so suddenly. She gives them a sad, sweet smile, explaining that she has to return to protect their home. One of them offers her a single flower, a small gesture of hope that almost makes her break down. She accepts it, cherishing this last moment of peace before the storm. The journey is long and exhausting, with the carriage clattering through the dense woods. Dan Qing stares out at the passing trees, her mind racing a mile a minute with what-ifs. Her senior sister tries to get her to eat, warning her that they won't have time for a proper meal once the chaos starts. But our girl is on a mission for information and can't even think about food. She needs to know why the peace was shattered so suddenly. Sister sighs, explaining that Crystal Valley has always been a target for the greedy. A decade ago, the fierce tiger sect of bandits tried to seize it but were pushed back. Now, the survivors of those villains have teamed up with other enemies for a massive power grab. They want the secret scriptures and rare herbs, and they are willing to kill everyone to get them. Since the valley is full of healers and not soldiers, they're being picked off one by one in a total massacre. The scenery blurs as they push the horses to their absolute limit. The wagoner finally announces that the valley is just over the next ridge. Dan Qing rushes to the window, her heart hammering against her ribs in anticipation. But the beautiful view she remembered is gone, replaced by a terrifying wall of thick black smoke. She lets out a gut-wrenching scream as she sees her childhood home being reduced to ashes. Crystal Valley is already burning. Something shocking is going down, and our girl can hardly believe her eyes as the situation starts to spiral. Her companion tells Dan Qing to keep it together, because things just got way more dangerous and they have to be extra careful. The sound of cracking wheels fills the air as they realize the road has been rigged with nasty spikes. Suddenly, it's a total disaster as the wagon flips, leaving everyone scattered and groaning in pain. It's a total trap, and our heroine is fuming at the despicable fellows who would pull such a low move. She can't help but let out a frustrated sigh as the reality of their situation sinks in. With the wagon completely trashed, they're officially stranded in the middle of nowhere. But our girl is a total boss, so she orders everyone to grab the herbs because they're hoofing it the rest of the way. As they march through the dark forest, she warns them to be vigilant since an ambush could happen at any second. A sudden rustle in the trees makes her heart skip a beat as she looks up into the dark canopy. Is it a demon or the enemy? She tells everyone to stay on high alert. Just as she's about to scream ambush, something strange begins to drift down from the sky. Peach blossoms. In this chaotic moment, the sudden beauty is totally jarring and confusing. Her eyes go wide as a familiar name escapes her lips. Could it really be her? A mysterious voice whispers for her to be quiet, but Dan Qing is already swooning at the thought of Yao. Swirls of pink energy fill the air as our girl looks up, realizing her savior has finally arrived in style. A hand reaches out through the blossoms, radiating pure power and grace. Those glowing golden eyes reveal that this newcomer is definitely not someone the enemies should have messed with. The rest of the group is completely blindsided, wondering what on earth is going on as they stumble through the woods. They're still panicking about a potential ambush, totally unaware that the vibe has completely shifted. Our girl is still salty about the enemy's low-blow tactics, calling them out for their despicable means. Looking at the red mess on the ground, she's convinced that even the heavens couldn't tolerate those villains anymore. Dan Qing looks back, still processing the sudden arrival of her powerful friend. And there she is, Yao appearing like an ethereal queen to save the day. It's a long overdue reunion as Yao tells her to keep things on the down low while greeting her old friend. Yao feels for them having to walk all that way, but Dan Qing just gives a savage little hee-hee now that she's safe. To make things even better, Yao promises to personally escort the whole group back to Crystal Valley. With renewed determination in her eyes, our girl knows the tide has finally turned. They finally make it to the valley, ready to put this chaotic nightmare of a journey behind them. The night is thick with smoke as the valley burns, signaling that the nightmare is far from over. Our girl Dan Qing is finally back on the scene, and she's wasting zero time getting the wounded patched up and bandaged. She gives them her best "everything's gonna be okay" smile, even though the vibe is definitely leaning towards "we're doomed." Looking back at when they first arrived, the entire valley was a total disaster zone of broken spirits and heavy hearts. But she knows moping around won't save anyone, so she shakes off the dejection like the savage heroine she is. There are people counting on her, and our girl isn't about to let a little thing like a massacre slow her down. Yao stops her at the edge of the chaos, warning that getting any closer is just asking for a world of trouble. They share a quick heavy farewell before Dan Qing charges back into the noisy, crowded shelter alone. The atmosphere inside is suffocatingly tense as everyone waits for the next blow to fall. Suddenly, a massive explosion rocks the entire building, and the ceiling literally decides to give up on life. Our girl is caught right in the middle of the blast, coughing through the dust as everyone screams to get inside. It's pure pandemonium as people scramble for cover while the sky outside turns into a literal war zone. Another boom shakes the ground, and it feels like the whole valley is being leveled to the dirt. Dan King huddles down, trying to block out the sounds of the destruction and the heartbreaking sobbing of those around her. But then she hears a name that makes her heart stop. Is that senior brother Guda and the others? He stumbles in looking like he's been through a meat grinder, barely able to stand on his own 2 feet. Everyone rushes over in a panic as he collapses, bloodied and battered from the front lines. Even with a bandage over his eye and blood everywhere, he has the audacity to flash her a cheeky grin like he's just back from a stroll. Our girl is absolutely devastated, her face twisting with a mix of relief and pure horror. He tries to play it cool, teasing her for making such a distressed face, while she's busy worrying herself into an early grave. The senior sister asks for a status report, but the news is grim. They're basically just waiting for reinforcements that are nowhere to be found. If the royal army doesn't show up soon, they aren't going to be able to hold this line for much longer. Another blast goes off nearby, and the senior sister grabs Dan King with an urgent, desperate request. She hands over a terrified little girl who got separated from her parents during the latest explosion. The poor kid is trembling, and the sister promises to go back into the fire to find her family if Dan King can just keep her safe. Our girl goes into full big sister mode, trying her best to soothe the little one's fears while the world ends around them. But as soon as the senior sister disappears back into the smoke, the little girl starts crying for her mommy, and Dan King's heart just absolutely shatters. Before she can even react, the kid rips her hand away with surprising force, and she bolts straight back into the danger zone, leaving our girl screaming for her to wait as she vanishes into the chaos.